Hello and happy chilled Sunday, which is when I'm recording this. In fact, I am so chilled today that I'm still in the clothes that I wore walking the dog on the beach this morning. I just haven't bothered to change, so I'm afraid you've just got me in my casual gear, although I suppose I usually am, just to bring a chill Sunday vibe to this video. I wasn't intending to make this today. I have been percolating with this idea for a couple of weeks, and I just suddenly got, jump on, let's do a video about it now. And so I sat just for a few minutes and contemplated, drew a couple of oracle cards, and thought, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to create a video addressing all of you who consider yourself a grid worker. And what does that mean, really? I mean, it means something different to everyone, I'm sure. But I feel like it's something that you know you are. It's almost like you hear it and you're like, yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. And I just want to clarify here. I mean, in many ways, all of us who are on our journey of expanding our consciousness, we are working with the grids within the earth. We are working with the grids, well, not even within, around us. You know, that's a part of what we're doing, and we're becoming more aware of that. And so I guess where I'm really addressing, or who I'm really addressing in this video, are those of you who really feel connected and drawn to certain sites around the world. Now, this doesn't only involve sacred sites, and it doesn't mean you have to travel. So when I was contemplating this video just before I got on, I was thinking, I've always moved, always. You know, the longest I've lived somewhere was between the ages of 7 and 14. And that particular house, we actually had to move out. My dad was dying and we needed to move into a smaller house. And that's it, like that's the longest. I'm 58 years old and that's the longest I've lived somewhere. And I think the second longest is 2.5 years. So I managed to own a house for 18 months once. Oh my gosh, I felt so tied down. So I have moved a lot. Ever since really leaving that house at 14, I moved a lot, even in the completion of my school years when I was at university. And then I got my calling to go overseas at 22. And although I wasn't conscious of it at the time, I know that the places that I was called to go were sacred in some way. I was activating and being activated by land and was not aware of it at all. And what was interesting was that in that first journey, particularly through Europe, through a lot of the countries that I still visit now, I became quite ill, very ill, in fact. And by the time I got to Ireland, I was hospitalized. And only with my awareness now, and I look back and I can see that I was being called to these different places, and there was an exchange happening of energy with different sites, and there was maybe even a level of awakening in me, but because I was not conscious of it, I had to cleanse. And I think there was a lot of what we'd call past life and ancestral trauma being cleansed, and that was a part of what I was doing. In the end, it turned out I had glandular fever, and that was my way of managing, I suppose, the energies of those sites. And this can happen when you are called to places, and particularly the first time. And we don't always realize that, especially if we are not going there consciously. But we're always being called to land, even when we get an idea for where we want to go on holiday, on your vacation. We're being called there. And I've talked about this in previous videos. And this is even more potent when you are a grid worker, when part of the reason that you are here is to interact with the planet, with Gaia, and support her evolution through the portals of certain sites, and have her support your evolution through those portals. And this is how I've explained it before. It's when we go to this land, it's not just about us activating the land or restoring a certain energetic frequency at a site. She is doing that to us and we're doing it with her. It's a co-creative process. And sometimes it requires not just us individually, and then that's why we'll often go on retreat or on a pilgrimage or a journey, because it's with the group that we actually most powerfully can activate those codes. And the other thing is that as our consciousness is expanding now, we are feeling more, we are seeing more, we are opening more. And so in returning to some of these places that you're called to go, whether it's marked by a particular dolmen or circle or possibly church that's been put over an ancient site, or whether it's a well somewhere, or whether it's just somewhere you're called to go that has never been acknowledged as a high frequency area. But whenever you go, you are accessing the records of that site. And the more conscious you become, the more expanded your consciousness becomes, the more you see and feel. There's a higher frequency that you're accessing. And in accessing that, it's like you activate it in the earth. And then that expands it for the next people coming. It's like everyone is playing their role in this awakening. And these power points on the earth, whether they're public power points or personal power points, are all activating this incredible grid of light. And there are many grids, and for me, I feel like the grid I follow is the grid of the rose. And that is a grid that is strongly connected with the Venusian energy and the Venusians. And it is a grid of love. It's a grid of the harmony that is within us and between us and the planet when we are in a state of love. And part of the reason the rose line's being so activated at the moment is because we are in this co-creation of New Earth phase, and New Earth is being co-created on the frequency of love. And this is why the rose line is being activated. This is why more people are connecting with the rose line and feeling drawn to go to the sites. I mean, look at the south of France, the Magdalene sites. You know, even in the time that I've been going, I first went in 2006, they've grown exponentially in terms of the number of people being drawn to those places. And so it is all over the world. Now, I want to add here, you don't have to travel to those places. I feel like that's some people's calling. It's obviously mine calling because I've never stayed still long. But for other people, it's through meditation. You don't have to physically go there. Or even, I mean, not even meditation. It can be simply contemplation. It can be awareness of a site. It can be reading about a site. But in that interaction, in that energetic interaction, there is an activation occurring. You are accessing records there. You are sharing your records, your ancestral records with that place. So for you, it may be that you are not called, and your work is different, but you are still a grid worker. And physically, you maybe are working more potently with the grid that you are on. But I think this is going to shift more and more. I think we're going to not need to necessarily travel as much because our energy is becoming so potent that, and obviously as we expand our consciousness and we can teleport and everything, it's going to be much easier. I was just thinking before I got on to the video, I actually, when I first was called to go back consciously, that was in 2006. My children were 3, 5, and 7. So they were still young, but I knew I had to go back. I knew Europe, I'm talking about, that's where I'm called. That's the grid that I'm most strongly resonant with. And it was not logical for me to go then, not with 3 small children. We didn't have the money for me to go. And so I took a loan, got a credit card, you know, all of this stuff, went on borrowed money. And it was an amazing journey for me, amazing. It started an entire new chapter for me, a new part of life, because that's when I realized I want to take groups. And I went back the next year to learn more and to work out where I wanted to go to in southern France. And then I took my first group the following year. Going through that process for me, it felt like I had no other choice. I had to do it. But actually, from a material point of view, 3D point of view, I actually ended up going through bankruptcy as a result of that. I separated from my husband, and then we individually went through bankruptcy. And that is not something I would recommend at all. But I was contemplating it. That was an experience I had to have, and I know that's to do with, I can look astrologically in my chart and I can see that this was an experience that was important for me to have in this lifetime. And yet, the pain, that didn't cause me a lot of pain, but it caused a lot of inconvenience. And it was challenging. And going through that, I was contemplating it, and I thought, I still would have gone. I still would have gone because I had to do those journeys. They changed my entire life. I might have done it differently. I was very upper chakra at the time. I wasn't really grounded. I wasn't grounded. I was very much in the woo. And I'd been working with manifesting for quite a few years, and I was like, okay, universe, if I'm meant to go, bring it to me, show me. And of course it came, got sent a credit card in the post and all of these things came in. I wasn't very specific in how I manifested it, let's say. But anyway, I went. It changed my life. And I'm doing what I'm doing now because of the experiences that I had then. So it was like not even finances was going to keep me away from going on that journey. However, I recommend you do not do it that way if you are called. Put a few conditions into your manifesting. And I'm still being called back, and I've managed to create a business now that supports me to go back to those grids, and every year I feel a different calling to a different place, and there are some places that I return to, and I'm not done yet in that way. And the other thing is, I wanted to say this, when you're called to these places, you don't always have to go and think, okay, I have to sit here and meditate. I've got to communicate with the land. What does it have for me? What's activating in me? What am I activating in it? It doesn't have to be that intentional. It can simply be being present on that land, being present to the earth, being present to the trees, to the animals, to the rocks. And if there is some sort of structure there, being present to that. It can be simply that. And in that space, perhaps awareness comes to you. But a lot happens subconsciously. It doesn't all have to be conscious, but it is important to be present with the land, with wherever you're called, and also with the people who may be around you or who you may meet there. Because even if it's a stranger, you're there together at that time for a reason. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's quite exquisite. And in many ways, I wanted to create this video so you could just own, yeah, I'm a grid worker. I'm a grid worker. It's here, it's part of what I'm here to do. It's a part of this beautiful communion I have with the earth at these sacred sites. And find your way of doing it. And please don't go into bankruptcy to do it. No borrowed money. Find your way. And your way might be physically traveling. Your way might be energetically connecting in. But acknowledge what you're doing, because that empowers the entire process. And I'm really enjoying at the moment, I am actually putting together the itineraries for next year. There was a part of me at one stage really wanted to be a travel agent. And so it's like in organizing these journeys, it's like I get to fulfill that part. Isn't it interesting how different things you might have wanted to do in your life? Like I also wanted to do journalism for a while, and now I'm back into writing again, which I'm loving. You know, those different things. I wanted to be a vet. I am pet sitting now. I don't know why else that, but I think it was the healing. But it's interesting how they all come into your life. And as I'm putting together these itineraries for next year's journeys, next year's pilgrimages, I'm really feeling the land speaking to me, and I'm feeling the evolution of the land. And something that surprised me, when I finished the Magdalene retreat in Provence last year, I was like, done here. I think I say that every year. I'm done, not going. And instead I was going to be offering a retreat in Bulgaria at the Rose Festival. Well, I hit a wall with that. The hotel I wanted to book, they didn't get back to me. They weren't responding. And then when I went online to look, they were sold out. And it was the only one that was really suitable to hold a group. And so I just hit this wall and I went, well, I'm not going to keep banging my head against the wall. And then I stepped back and just went, I think I have to go back to Provence. It's like Magdalene's not done with me yet. So, so there you go. So, but actually that's quite good, because I've done that. I've held that space before. I've been there before, so it does make it easier for me. But I'm doing all this wonderful research into Sardinia, where we'll stay, where I'm going to go, and also the Pyrenees, particularly the Catalonian side, Roses, Montserrat, where the Black Madonna is, and then up into the Pyrenees to Canigou on the French side. That's the beautiful mountain. It's just the little dog having a shake there, that background noise. I just love it. I love putting these together. So anyway, because she's moved, it's probably time for me to finish. But what I would like to share with you is, although I haven't put any retreats out yet for next year, I have done a page talking about my journeys and where I'll go next year and the dates that they'll be on. And so if you want to just get a little excited, I'll pop the link below for that, and you can just have a look and just get a feel for what these experiences are. You know, going in a group can be incredibly profound, because you're evolving and expanding your consciousness together, and your codes coming together, and the exchange with the land is just unbelievable. However, sometimes you are called to do your own journey and not go in a group, and I get that, because I get that too. But have a look where I'm going. It might excite you. You might like to be on the wait list. I will probably open the Provence one in the next week or so. I'm just finalizing a couple of things. They're very small this year, the retreats, like 6 people, 6 or 7 people. So really, really intimate. And I'm looking forward to sharing that. And in the meantime, I will keep grid working around my local area here in Byron Shire in northern New South Wales. I'm about I finished nearly, well, I've got another couple of weeks in this house sit, and then I'm moving into a more permanent place for a whole 3 months in a part of this shire that I haven't lived before. It's north of Byron Bay. And I was thinking about that too. That beach, I have not walked up and down. I get my downloads walking up and down a beach. And I've walked up and down all the different beaches around Byron Shire because I've lived at different places, but not this one. So the next 3 months, I get to walk up and down, activate the grid there, and receive the activations from the grid in the area of Ocean Shores, it's called, where I'll be staying for the next 3 months. So I'm doing a bit more local grid work as well. Anyway, please share with me below if there is anywhere that you are called to go to activate the grid, or even just share your experiences. Is there somewhere that was really profound for you, where you really felt that exchange of energy, or perhaps you really accessed the records of the land there, the records in the land, in the trees, in the rocks? I'd love to hear about that. Yeah. And also if you have any other perspectives on what it means to be a grid worker. You know, this is just some of my musing, but I am open to many ways of looking at this and experiencing this. So if there's anything you'd like to share with me about that, I'd really appreciate it. One more thing, actually. I am going to be doing a YouTube live, which I haven't done for a long time, next week for the Equinox. Now, my Equinox Harmony Retreat, I have been running for years, and usually it is a paid event. I might have done one once on YouTube, I can't remember. Usually it is a paid, low-cost paid event, and I did one at the Aries Equinox, and it was so powerful. The 11 Roseline oracles came in and I channeled each of them. Maybe that'll happen again this time. I haven't put it online yet, but I will in the next day or two. But just make a note, just keep checking my channel, or make sure you're subscribed, and then you'll see it come up in your feed. But that will be actually on the 23rd Australian time in the morning. I'm going to be holding that Equinox Harmony Retreat with the Roseline. So I hope you can join me for that. And the beautiful thing about YouTube is if you can't be live, you will get the replay anyway. Okay, so that will probably be the next time I'm here on YouTube. So until then, rose blessings to you.